Welcome to the Disneyville podcast, episode 20. We are your hosts, Tyler
and Jessica.
We are very excited to be here. It's a long story. We've been futzing with our equipment all morning. Today is the day of the eclipse. And so we're trying to get out of here to go see that. We were like, we've been working so hard on getting this ready. I am so excited to film this episode, actually. But it's
just been a trying morning.
It has been a trying morning, but it might be a little bit of a shorter podcast today, just because we're trying to get out there and see this.
We'll see. We say that,
We'll see. We like to talk. So
our coffee is strong today. We're still working through Starbucks Holiday Blend
from last year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Never buy the Costco size box.
Yeah.
So, do you want to do a very quick little mug shot here, and then we're into it. This one I think I've had before. It's a giant mug, and it's one of my favorites, but it's just red with the little Mickey pants and then a little black handle. I don't know why. It makes me so happy. It's so simple, but I love it.
It's so cute. It makes me think of like old school, like when we first started dating, and I don't know why. I think you had a mug.
That. Yeah.
Is this the mug?
The mug.
Oh my gosh, even better.
I've had it for a long time.
I've got one I know I've shown before. It's like a 100th anniversary one, and it's got the Genie and Maestro Mickey and Frozen. The girls love looking at this one too.
We need to switch out some of our mugs here so we can get some fresh Disney mugs.
We got a trip coming up very soon. I'm going to be eyeing the mug. To say the mug case.
Well, we were talking too, because if you're watching this, you get to see our lovely shelf that was way more work than what it was worth. Here.
I think it looks nice.
No, it looks nice, but it was a lot of work. Anyway, but the having it so we can like get cool things up here. We were talking about like, oh, this could be dangerous, because now every time we see something, we think, oh, that's cool. Well, we could use it behind us in our podcast.
Now we have an excuse. You know what? If anyone's going to have Disney memorabilia, it should be us.
You know what? You're not wrong.
Right?
You're not wrong.
Today's episode is about our favorite queues and lines, whatever you want to call them, that are worth waiting in. Ones that if you're choosing between, okay, are we going to get a lightning lane for this one or this one? And you know either way you're going to be either waiting the same amount of time or whatever. Which one would we recommend actually going through the line if you had to? Mm-hmm. If you had to. I mean, obviously ideal world, you're not waiting in any lines.
Right. And this was actually a listener request. Do you know her name?
The screenshot does not have the name. And I think we took the screenshot a while ago. It was a DM from one of you guys, I think, on Instagram. And so what she said was, just watch the Hollywood Studio episode on YouTube. Would you consider doing an episode in the future of good lines to actually wait in? I feel like so much of the dialogue around Disney is figuring out Genie Plus to reduce wait times. But when we have to wait, what are some of the best line options to do it in? For example, our family likes to wait at Toy Story Mania because there's so many pictures and interesting things to look at on the walls that we love to play I Spy with the kids. And then she goes into some other ones. So we loved that idea.
Yeah. And if you have any ideas of stuff, please let us know. We're always looking for good ideas.
Podcast topics, absolutely. Ideas. We got a long list, but every once in a while we get one that we love and we just move it to the top.
Exactly.
So, let us know. So we're going to go through our favorites, but we're also going to share our least favorites at each park, because there are a few that were top of mind that I'm like, if I have to wait in this, I just hate it so much.
But you know what? I feel like there was a lot of medium ones too.
Actually, a lot.
And we'll get to those. But there was like some that were like, there's good parts to them, but overall,
I'd rather not.
Rather not.
Yeah, rather not.
So, we're going park by park, right? I don't have a certain number in each. I just kind of wrote down a little bit in each one.
Yeah, I have like a couple, yeah.
Okay, so we're starting in Magic Kingdom, yes?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. What are your best?
Okay.
Good start.
All of these are going to have, yeah. I love the queue, and you may notice if you're watching the YouTube version of this, I'm wearing a Peter Pan's, I was going to say Peter Pan's Flight. Yes, they are flying. Yeah. A Peter Pan shirt that I've had for a long time from Uniqlo, by the way. Peter Pan's Flight is so cool. And I sometimes when I'm really in a Disney, like missing Disney mood, you can watch on YouTube like ride-throughs of things. No. I don't even need the ride-through. I love the ones where they're walking through the queue. Okay? And I recently watched one of someone walking through the queue of Peter Pan's Flight. It is, I think, hands down, the most unbelievably magical queue, which is great because that is the line that is always incredibly long.
So long.
Like those lightning lanes are gone so fast.
Yeah.
It almost doesn't even make sense. The ride itself I love it though.
Yeah.
But still, it always seems crazy. I'm like, 2 hours? Like what?
Yeah, I know. There is something about it. As soon as we said we're doing an episode about our favorite queues, that's the first one that popped in my head.
Me too.
Every time. And it didn't used to be this way. It was fine, but was it like 5 years ago?
Maybe longer. Maybe 10.
They shut it down for a while and renovated it, and now it's so magical. You see Tinkerbell flying around, Tinky flying around. It's so beautiful, and you're like in their rooms and stuff like that. It is a very, very magical queue, but that was the first one that popped in my head.
Yeah, and one of the other things that stands out, like obviously Tinkerbell flying around, they've got the magical pixie dust type sound following her. The lighting that they use for that is just really neat. But they also do these shadow things where it's interactive. There's like, for example, they'll have these shadows of these bells in a line hanging. And then as you're walking through and your shadow, because again, shadows are part of, I'm now realizing, oh my gosh, shadows are a part of Peter Pan. Anyway, your shadow, you can hit the bells and it will move them. It'll move the shadow. What is that technology?
Good. It is so cool. Oh my gosh. I forgot about the shadow part. That's the best part.
I know. I'm getting excited.
Oh, all right. I'm
getting excited to wait 2 hours.
I'm going to wait 2 hours just so I can hang out there for a while. So one of my favorites is Pirates of the Caribbean.
Interesting.
Because you have so many different like vignettes as you're going through. You have the guys playing chess that are, just a bag of bones there, and they have like like different areas.
Cherub bones.
And I get so excited being in that queue, hearing the music. That's what the being in the Castillo del Moro, they call it, right?
Yeah.
That's all great. And the scenes and all that, but it's the music. But you know what? It's one of the ones I feel the worst for the cast members that work there, because it is just that like on repeat.
So dark.
It's gotta be, I mean, that's gotta be rough listening to that over and over and over again.
That would just be in your head
all the time.
And there's the long version of the song. It's like the 10-minute version.
But it's just like that long intro. You don't hear the actual song, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's just dun 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 dun. But it gets me excited because I'm only in there for a little bit. What is that?
Guys, it's the part where it goes dun 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 dun. Dun. There's not snap.
Are you singing Putting on the Ritz? What is going on over there?
Listen, you either get it or you don't. I think I'm thinking of the right song.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah, that's basically the part.
Dun 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 dun.
How many of you guys are singing along with us right now?
Okay.
I did not have that one on my list. I did, however, have Haunted Mansion. And this one I toggled with, but if you really think about it, I have a part of the queue that I hate, but I think we all will agree on this. But, it's kind of boring for a while when you're in the like back part of the line, but once you get into the graveyard, it's so interactive. Again, that was another thing. They closed for a while and redid the line. I feel like they've been doing that a lot.
That was a while ago now.
Mm-hmm. And there's just so many interactive, like, you'll push on one side of this stone and then it'll push out on the other side. It'll play music when you're touching and you're in the little cemetery. It really sets the mood, but it's also just fun.
I feel like that area of the queue, every time we go though, is closed.
If you're doing Lightning Lane, you just bypass it.
Maybe that's what
it is. So I think, a lot of times if we're utilizing it, we are using it.
Yeah. It's funny because I had this on my list and it was in my medium column, because this is the best queue and the worst queue. It would be hard to find one that's more quintessentially Disney when you're in the stretching room. Obviously, that's part of the queue, and it is the one thing that almost every true Disney fan can probably recite that entire paragraph by rote. But the very beginning of that, when you're standing outside in that line, that's terrible. It gets okay when you're in the interactive queue area. It's great in the stretching room.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's horrible when they try and bottleneck you into the ride queue.
What is the worst case scenario when you're waiting in a line? You go into a room together. Everyone's trying to figure out which door is going to open first. So people are pushing and shoving. So then it finally is time. The door opens. Everyone floods to it. We usually just hang back.
Yeah.
But everyone floods to the door, and then not only are you all flooding through this door, but then you got to squeeze into this one singular line. That gives me like heart palpitations.
Let's send 225 people down to a single file line in 8 feet of space. Let's go.
I don't see anything wrong with this.
And everyone's sweaty. Yeah. Oh man. So that was a tough one because it's so good, but also so bad.
Yeah. Okay. I only had one more, but I think it's your turn.
Okay. I had one of my absolute favorites is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Okay, that was my last one.
Okay.
Perfect.
It's so good, once you get into the actual area, the outside queue that you're waiting in, it's just, it's pretty, it's landscaped. There's a lot of them that are out there that are just, you're standing in between chains. So at least this is landscaped really nicely, and you kind of wind around,
there's
shade,
fans
fans,
in there.
yep. But once you get inside, you have the diamond mine area, and you can spin it and all that kind of stuff, and it shows on the ceiling, and that's the area that's just, I love that.
It's so cool. You know what I feel like we have not done enough of, we should try on this next trip? They have what is it called? Play Disney app. Yeah. And you can do it at home. I literally downloaded it the other day, but you can do it at home. It's trivia and Disney games, but you can also do them in the park. Mm-hmm. And I think, if I remember right, and some of you guys can let us know if you've done it, that there are even like interactive things. So when you're in the park. So that would be really fun to actually use, especially when you're waiting in line anyway.
Yeah.
Something you could do.
Yeah. I feel like before kids, we wouldn't have really cared about it. And then our kids have been too young, but now they're getting to the point where this would be a really fun thing, I think, for them to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, we should definitely get into that a little bit more.
Yeah. I will say too, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, it's not fun to wait in any line, but that one is, I feel like when you're outside, it feels like it moves really slow. But once you're inside, I feel like you cruise. Once you're inside, you're getting on the ride really soon.
Yeah.
Don't you feel like you're not waiting very long?
Do you have any worst of Magic Kingdom?
Oh, yes, I do. And honestly, this list could have been a little longer. Astro Orbiter.
Yep. It's the one I had on my list. It's the worst.
Awful. It's awful. So you're waiting outside just in a nothing line. Like, it is what it is. But then to get on the actual ride, you have to go into this elevator to go up to it, which again, I get it. That's just the way it is. But it's awful. It's awful. And you get on the elevator and the light's always like flickering. There's
Dead
cockroaches. Like, we've only done it like maybe 3 or 4 times on separate trips. And every time it is the same experience. And then when you're done, you got to wait up there for the elevator. It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
If you had to evacuate that ride, yikes.
I think they have stairs that go down.
Okay, because I'm like,
past
what would
like
you
the
even
people
do?
mover area. But
Yeah.
That was the one I had on my list too. I'm like, there's something about that. It's so bad.
So bad.
So bad.
Honestly, if the queue were not the way that it was, I would probably ride that way more often because it's beautiful.
I would rather ride that than Dumbo.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because I think the view is better.
It's so cool.
It's so cool.
That's an underrated ride, but really knocks it down a few pegs because of the line.
Yeah. One more that I had on my medium list was the Dumbo ride, speaking of which, because the idea that you can go in and you have the playground is such a cool idea. That's so unique. I mean, nowhere does that. That's such a cool idea that you can kind of go in. If you have young kids, they can run around and play while standing in line, keeping your place in line, and then continue on the queue. The queue itself is, nothing. But that idea is so smart.
It really is. Ugh, I'm getting excited.
Okay. So anything else that you had? Oh, I just had one more medium.
Okay.
Space Mountain. That is the longest walk I've
on and off
ever.
the ride, by the way.
That was what was it during the Halloween party? Maybe it was you and me, maybe it was me and Jason.
I think you and Jason.
We went on it, no one in line, which was awesome. It must have been a 45-minute walk from the time we walked into that building to up there, just straight walking. It's so long. And if you do have to wait in there, it's air conditioned, which is nice. So on a hot day, that's nice. But there's not a whole lot to look at, so that's a little claustrophobic for a really long time.
That's true. Why would you say that? Now that's on my mind.
Sorry. One more in Magic Kingdom?
Yes. On the worstish, Small World. First of all, do not wait in a line for that ride. No matter how badly you want to ride it, if you can swing it, because it always dips down really low at some point in the day. Even I feel like on the, what I always call the high holy days of summer at Disney World, where every park is so busy every day. I feel like even on those days, either just beeline for it right in the morning or just wait, because a lot of people get it out of the way during the day, and then come evening, it's usually lower.
Yeah. I feel like there's always a time during the day where it's less than 20 minutes.
Because that line is nothing. I mean, you're just outside going back and forth. There really is nothing to look at other than people getting on the ride.
Well, you're under a canopy. You're kind of
So at least
inside.
you're not in the sun.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? There's nothing to really do.
Yeah, very much so. Except count how many pennies are in the water.
Epcot. I heard someone I was watching a vlog of, Brianna Tata, we can link her channel below. Her, I think, fiance said he calls Epcot Cotty Eps, and that is the best thing I've ever in my life. So I will be exclusively calling it Cotty Eps forever. All right, Cotty Eps.
Okay, I've got a couple goods and a couple bads here.
I'll be curious. I feel like when I was going through Epcot and thinking through what I wanted to mention, I struggled a little bit with this one.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, there's just not as many rides, so that's a piece of it,
Right.
But let's start with you.
Okay, so Remy, love that queue. Love the music, love the feeling as you're going through. You see the Gusteau's sign. You walk through the little apartment area, whatever it's supposed to be. I think it's an apartment. You see like the painting supplies and all that kind of stuff, and the different interactive things they have like that. So I love that queue. I really don't have a lot bad to say about it.
And there's just something so cool about, that was on my list too. There's something so cool about when you're getting on the actual ride itself, which I would include as part of the queue.
Right.
Because the way that they have these, it's magnets, right? The way they have these things scooting around and zip into where you're going to get on it is crazy to watch. Like I could sit there and watch that for 20 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know if those are magnets or not. I know the People Mover uses like a magnet.
Okay, so it's probably something a little more high-tech.
I think they're just computerized.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But it's just really neat to watch. And on top of that, like the way, what you're looking at when you're getting on the ride is breathtakingly beautiful. And yeah, the Gusteau's area will get me every time.
Oh, I know.
It's so pretty.
And little things like in the windows, you'll see like shadows go by and stuff like that. And
they have the music going.
Yeah.
It's just a good vibe. They knew what they were doing.
And that's also my favorite movie too. It's so good. Okay, so this is kind of I just went.
Oh, we kind of went together.
You go ahead.
Okay. I think I'm going to have some people disagree with me on this one. And it's not like favorite, like I'm dying to wait in it, which would probably be true for any of these. But I actually don't hate the queue for Figment. Now, there's not usually a long queue. So, if I'm not having to stand there for an hour, I'm going to enjoy it a little bit more anyway. But I just think it is so cool that they have all of these kind of fictional scientists from Disney lore, all with these, doors to their office, and you can hear sounds, and usually I think maybe even see shadows.
Yeah.
So it's like the scientist from Flubber,
Williams.
the one from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, what's his name?
And then the made up one for Figment.
What's his name?
Not Michael.
Zelensky.
I mean, I just think that was so well thought out and weird and fun. Yeah. Like, and it's such specific niche movies that they're doing. So you either know or you don't, but I just love that they thought to do that.
Yeah.
I will be so curious. We could do a whole episode on Figment, I feel like, but I would be so curious to see what will happen eventually with that ride. If they will always leave it the way it is, obviously people love it, but also obviously there's not usually a long wait. So if they're thinking of, but also it's kind of nice for Disney to have that ratio of ones that you can get on versus if all of them always have long lines.
Yeah.
Like the Donald Duck ride is great.
Yeah.
If you just want to get on a ride, especially like with young kids and they're just wanting to ride a ride, Gigi will say at the end of like a few hours, we haven't even ridden a single ride. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Let's go get on Donald Duck.
Because we know it'll be 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything with Rick Moranis in it, even if it's just a picture of him, is A-okay by me. No, I know. I had that actually on my good list too. Because I'm like, there is something about it. And I love all the sounds you can hear. And there's like inside jokes and stuff as you're going by. You can see on boxes and things like that, different jokes. And like I said, you hear the sounds behind the doors. It makes it seem very alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also got that weird nostalgic thing, even though it's not, an original one.
It may as well be.
Yeah, I agree. That was on my good list too. This is kind of an underrated one, I feel like. The Seas with Nemo and Friends. It's air conditioned, which is nice. Mm-hmm. So the second you walk in that door, at least you're out of the heat. But it's cool because I don't think a lot of people realize what's going on when you're in that queue. You start out and you're on the beach. You're at like sea level. And as you go from room to room, you're sort of going down. And you see like then, the beach is at your eye level. And then you go down and then you're like under the pier and you look up and you're basically the entire queue. By the time you get there, you're going underwater, and it's kind of cool because like as you get closer, you can see a boat way above your head. But I think that's such a cool concept.
Yeah.
Even just subconsciously, you're going from sea level all the way down under the water.
I honestly forget. I remember you pointing that out. I think last year, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like you blew my mind. I had not realized, so I'll have to pay attention again.
Yeah. And it's a nice air conditioning break.
Yes, it is. But that's one of those that when you first walk in, you're coming out of the bright Florida sun, and you go in and instantly I cannot see for a full 5 minutes. It's crazy. I'm bumping into stuff. I'm like, watch out, kids. They're like, what's wrong with you, Mom? I'm like, I can't
I don't know.
see.
Just get out of my way.
That was it for the good for Epcot.
Yeah, I've got two bads.
Okay,
I had
me
one
too.
medium, but I'm not even going to bring it up.
Okay. Well, now I'm curious. What's your medium? Just real fast.
It was the Grand Fiesta Tour. There's no real queue, but that's what I like about it. There's never anyone there. I mean, but you're also kind of in the Mexico Pavilion, so it's kind of cool just to be in there.
Yeah, if you count the vibes.
But if you're stuck in that queue, I feel bad for you because that's sometimes it'll like the last time we were there, we were we were supposed to like walk right on, and then we stood there forever, and
that
then
was
finally
bizarre.
Yeah, we got back on. But
And you're just face to face, butt to butt with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
It was rough.
Yeah. Worst queue to me. I have two. And I feel strongly about them. And I wonder if you do too. The Living with the Land queue.
Number 1.
And Soarin'.
Yep. Both. So bad.
Which is crazy because the Land Pavilion is one of our favorite places on Disney property. I love Sunshine Seasons. I love eating in there, grabbing a Coke. Maybe you get one of your High Lives or whatever. But boy, those queues are awful.
Yeah. They really are bad.
Living with the Land, you're going back and forth, you know, but there's nothing to look at.
You got the McDonald's floor from 1990.
Which I love.
So it's cool.
But yeah, there's nothing to look at.
You got the quotes on the wall that are painted.
And that will sometimes be a weirdly long wait.
Sometimes it is. Yeah. It's one of those ones that, again, if you catch it right, it's 5 minutes. But if you catch it wrong, it's a full 25 minutes. And that's a long time
45,
to be
50
in that line.
sometimes.
Yeah. And there's just like nothing. There's nothing to see. There's nothing to do.
That's one you should just like wait, catch it at the right time.
Yeah.
Don't wait in that line.
It's awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Soarin', at least a couple years ago, they put in the like interactive thing, or not interactive, but it's like trivia. Because for a long time, there wasn't even that. So that's a little bit better. But I'm like, you've got so much space there.
Yeah.
There's got to be something they can do with it. I don't know.
Talk about long walks.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one might beat Space Mountain. Or maybe it's tied. And I'm sure it has to do with where it's located in the pavilion. So you just literally have to get back there. So it is what it is. But it is just that is honestly in all of Disney property, that might be my least favorite line.
I would have to agree with that.
Yeah. But the trivia helps.
Yeah, but
and Patrick
it's at least a
Warburton,
little something. But I'm like, I don't know what they could do. I don't know. Teach me about the history of aviation or something. I don't know. Give me something to do in that line besides stare at my phone. I already stare at my phone long enough during the Disney.
Well, because we're usually trading off watching the girls, so one of us can write it.
Right. At this age,
so we're usually just alone.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to Hollywood Studios?
Yes. One more thing though. The Guardians. I don't know if it's good or bad because we've only ever done the Lightning Lane.
I was going to say same.
I think when we first walk in, there's that like circle area, and that looks cool. But past that, I don't know what we always just go to that back hallway, and then you're like on the ride. So I don't know.
It's fun to watch. What's his name? I love him.
Oh yeah.
We know him from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Anyway, Terry Crews.
Terry Crews.
Epcotians, Epcotarians. Yeah. Love that.
Glenn Close, right?
Oh yeah. Anyway, so love that portion of it. But yeah, you're right.
And that is pretty cool how when the lights go out. Woo, okay. Anyway, all right. So Hollywood Studios.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with the original idea person. I'm so sorry that we don't know your name. I wish it was in the screenshot.
We've gotten better about that from now on. We always include people's name in it,
we tried
this was a long time ago that we took that screenshot.
Toy Story Mania. Again, a lot of times we'll get a lightning lane for that, but that queue is so fun. Both here and at Disneyland. They've got Mr. Potato Head interacting. The toys just everywhere. There's so much to look at. And I love the idea of playing I Spy, like she said. I think that's such a cute idea.
It is fun.
It'd be fun with the girls. But there's just so many nostalgic things that every time I've ever waited in that line, I see something new that I didn't notice before. Like, oh my gosh, there's ants in my pants game or whatever that's called.
No, I know.
Cooties,
I agree.
what's it called?
Yeah, that is a good one. And again, the Mr. Potato Head area is awesome. But yeah, that's that again, that was a couple years ago they've updated. I feel like they're just kind of continuously updating a lot of these queues. They realize that are,
I
need
feel
a
like
little.
Toy Story opened though with all that interactive stuff.
But then they moved the queue to the other side because now it's in Toy Story Land. Now you enter there. Remember, you used to enter on the other side. So I think they added to it. I think it used to be somewhat like that, but they then flipped it and then added to it. I don't know. I would be curious to see like blueprints. Yeah. That was on my list. You know what is a really cool one? Star Tours.
Please describe that to me because I had it on my worst.
That's the one I remembered, where you go in and they've got all the robots all around, and they've got the big ship that you're about to board, and they're like, you're like in an airport, if you will.
I was literally thinking that was Millennium Falcon's queue.
No, that's
honestly, it's been a long time since we've done Star Tours.
Yes, it has been.
So we'll need to remedy that.
But it's like you're at an airport because the whole idea with Star Tours is that you're about to board a flight, a space flight, and there's all these droids all around and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
And it's got like a departures board, if I remember right. We need to do that one again.
Yeah, I was like, let's definitely do that. I think Genevieve would be able to.
Yeah, I think so. She might be a little scared, but
she surprises us all the time.
This is true.
Okay, Tower of Terror. Now, this is one of those that maybe should be on a medium because literally most of the queue is just fine. You're like in the back of it and you're kind of going around. But when you do finally get to the lobby area, that is one of the coolest areas. And you can only see it if you're waiting in line. Like you can't, or you know what I mean? Yeah. You can't just go in and look at it. So I love, it's that lobby of the hotel. It's got all the memorabilia from so many different Twilight Zone episodes. I would love to one day watch through all of the Twilight Zone. That would take forever.
Every October I watch a few episodes. So it's,
smart.
It's about 30 years before I get through them. But there's a lot of really good ones. And that time of year, it's just the right time to be watching that.
Good spooky vibe.
Woo! Yeah, that was on my list. It's so good.
It's so good.
And then again, especially like once you get into the lobby and then you get into the area with the TV screen and all that, then it's just from then on. Then you're in the basement where the boilers are and stuff. Oh my God.
Gosh,
it's
that was so well done.
It is so good. So good. One of my all-time favorites, Muppet Vision 3D.
Yes.
It is so... that is probably my favorite pre-show show. It is so funny. I laugh out loud every time. If you get there early enough and you get into the area with all the big crates, take a minute and walk around. It's like dad jokes. You know what I mean? It's like this side up and they put it down and like things like that.
You see some of Miss Piggy's costumes hanging out, some of them. My favorite part of that little pre-show is when Sam Eagle comes on and he's or no, that's in the actual show. Well, I'll just share it anyway. When Sam Eagle comes on and he's like, you know, they're like, well, Sam, how's it going with your show? And he's like, oh, almost done. It's a, salute to America, blah, 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 blah. And then
a salute to all nations, but mostly America.
And then what do they say? He's like 2 minutes. You've got 2 minutes. And Sam Eagle goes,
he's like, it's a glorious 1 hour special. And Kermit says, you got 2 minutes. And he goes, oh. We do that all the time. That's like one of our favorite things to do is the Sam Eagle going, oh.
I love it.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. Hard to beat that one. Because you're in the Millennium Falcon. when you're in the queue. And then you obviously go into the cockpit.
Well, on that, piggybacking on that, Rise of the Resistance 2, if you include, and this is where I was like, do I put it on the list or not? If you include the fact that like part of the queue, in theory, unless you decide it's part of the ride, is going into that room where you see all of the stormtroopers, going into that little space cruiser, if you will, to get to the next. Yeah. So
I would say that's all ride, but I could see what you mean.
But in theory, like in my head, it really is technically part of the queue, which if you treat it that way in your mind, then that's an incredible queue. But it just depends.
That's true.
On
I
how
didn't even think about it. You're so right.
Down.
It could. Yeah, that's fascinating.
It's just
so good. It's so unique. All right, I had a couple baddies here. Alien swirling saucers. That one's rough.
Honestly, let's throw Slinky Dog in there too.
Yeah, that's a bad one. And I'm like, that's a newer ride. I feel like it's crazy that they didn't do something a little bit better. But Alien swirling saucers in particular, the song they play.
Oh my gosh.
I remember there was a time when we were there and Jason, my brother, took our daughter on it. And I was standing outside, like waiting for them to get on. And I'm like, I am so tired of, there's like 3 song choices. Again, I feel so bad for the cast members more than anyone because it's so annoying. It's so bad. And again, it's outside. I think you're covered at least, but at least it's, you are. But parts of Slinky Dog, you are out like in the elements.
And again, there's not much to look at other than the ride, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But after an hour or 2 hours of that, you're just ready to ride that ride.
Yeah. Once you get a little closer to Slinky Dog, they've got the games and stuff like the game boards, but not worth that.
Okay, my only worst, because I had Star Tours, but again, anyway, Fantasmic.
Yep, that was the other one I had.
I was like, do we include it? But I think so, because I mean, obviously it's not a traditional queue. You're basically just walking to the venue. And it's a long walk. That is what it is. Again, based on where it's located, that all makes sense. But a couple complaints I have, and mind you, Fantasmic is my favorite nighttime show, period, point blank. So it's not a real complaint. But when you're leaving, of course, it's just packed. So again, we've just kind of learned to hang back if we can because you're just walking with a huge crowd and it's a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
But the hardest thing is if you have a stroller and you bring it back with you, it is honestly better to just park it not there because the stroller parking there is the most chaotic. Talk about bottleneck too, like how you get in and out of it. I'm like, how did they not?
And they separate families. So like, because when they're like, okay, one person is allowed to go into the stroller parking area. So like then
to manage traffic,
right? But then the rest of us kind of keep continuing on. And then you have to find your person later on, like try and meet up down the road.
Tricky.
And we're like we always are trying to call each other. Like, okay, I'm by the Beauty and the Beast poster. Where are you?
A bunch of people.
That's
just tricky.
And again, it's just
I don't know what the solution is, but yeah.
I don't know, trivia. You know,
Always.
the Soarin' method. Animal Kingdom.
Okay. Avatar Flight of Passage.
That's so good.
It's like seeing the guy like floating in the water.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much to look at.
Mm-hmm.
So at least if you can't get a lightning lane, because that's one that is totally feasible that you might not, and you have to wait, it's really cool. And again, it's kind of like Rise of the Resistance. It depends on how you look at how it's split up. Parts of what I would consider the queue is where you're like standing and they're matching you to your avatar.
Move around.
Yeah, move around. And it's all kind of silly, but again, at least it's something to do.
It's true. Yeah.
Unless you're viewing that as part of the ride, in which case you're like, come on, I just want to get on the ride. But I view it as part of the queue. And again, at least it's something to do. It is, yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that, again, there's when you're walking through the lab where he's floating, that's so cool. But there's so many different areas of that queue, too. I feel like that's part of why it's so interesting, because even though you're just standing in line, every 10 minutes or whatever, you're in a different room. And it just feels like you're moving forward, even though you're waiting 45 minutes. It just like you're in the cave area, and then you're in like that outdoor area with all the like trees and algae and like the rusty
I feel like most of it's
building
inside
and
or in the shade.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good just because you feel like you're moving.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Tough to be a bug because it is because you're walking through the Tree of Life roots. That is what is so cool. This is all going to change here soon because it's supposed to be they're changing the Tree of Life to a Zootopia attraction. But as of right now, obviously you're still probably going to walk through the Tree of Life. That's probably not going to change. And that's really cool. Then you get to the actual part where you're inside. I love the posters that are like theatrical posters, and they're all like musical theater references. So that area I love. But I hate how you go in and you're like, there's only one entrance and they keep trying to shove everybody all the way down, and it's dark and you're like bumping into people, and like it's kind of claustrophobic, and there's only one exit, and they just keep saying like, go all the way down, go all the way down, go all the way down.
It's like a bunch of bugs just stuffing us in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually my worst for that reason. You're right. The Tree of Life portion of it is so cool. And I love the cute, like for us loving musicals and theater, having the little theater posters that they've changed to be a bug pun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, and you're waiting for the whole show to be over. So it's usually 20 minutes. That's usually one that you're not waiting long for.
Yeah.
So it's not that bad. But honestly, just in the grand scheme of the rides at Animal Kingdom, I was like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally get that. Okay.
What about Expedition Everest? It's fun to go through and see all of the memorabilia from Everest and people that have climbed it. And like, then you start going into the folklore of like, is there such a thing as the Yeti? I feel like you could spend so much time actually looking at all of that stuff. A lot of times we'll do the single rider because we'll just be like, I don't care if I ride with you. Let's just go single rider. You usually don't wait long at all, but you miss out on looking at all of that really cool stuff.
That's one of my all-time favorite because it makes it seem so real. All the memorabilia and the pictures and
it is real.
Right. Sorry. And all the real things that they found over the years. But I don't even know. They've got all the like travel journals and the blurry pictures and the footprints and that have been cast in plaster and all that stuff.
It really is so cool.
It's pretty cool.
That was well done. Okay, I will tell you what the worst ride at Animal Kingdom is. That would be the safari. Not ride, sorry, line.
Yeah.
The safari.
That was on my list. I have 3 actually.
Well, first of all, when you're getting in line for the safari, you are in another part of the park because you are going to be nowhere near the entrance. Like anytime we've been ready to get on the safari, we'll go to the entrance and the line is backed up all the way around and down, kind of like the Lion King. I'm like, what is going on? Usually they'll fix it, open some more, and then everyone's within. But the past few years when we've tried to do it, the line is just like comically long and outside of the normal queue. There's stuff to look at. There's like, I think some video screens talking about conservation stuff. So that's cool. But it's just one of those that I absolutely, for whatever reason, hate waiting in that line.
I do too.
I just hate it.
And it's not bad. I think part of it's outside. It's always hot. But
it's always 10 degrees hotter Animal Kingdom, I'm telling you.
There's just, but
maybe 20.
I don't know what it is. I agree. And it's not a terrible line. I just don't like it.
I just don't like it.
But did we have a bad experience?
What was our experience, right?
That we just don't like
some kind of trauma we have from waiting for the safari.
Okay, so on the same vein, Navi River Journey. I can't stand that queue because it's like a big corral with the things, and it's just a big kind of open air. It's kind of the same thing where it's like there's a roof over your head, but nothing. There's nothing there. It's just a big open area with stanchions.
Yeah, that one is not super fun. And the ride itself is so beautiful. It's kind of wild that they haven't made the line itself prettier. Again, in fairness, I feel like we'll usually lightning lane that.
Yeah.
So, but even still, it's just one I don't like waiting in. I agree.
Yeah. And then I had one more.
And that's all for me. Go ahead.
Okay. My last one, dinosaur.
I didn't even think about dinosaur.
And again, all that's supposed to change here soon.
That one's pretty bad.
Just when you first walk in, you're like, oh, that's a dinosaur. And then like 45 minutes later, you're like still around the same circle. I'm like, if I see this dinosaur one more time. I have seen this dinosaur from every angle for the past hour. So,
but you know what is cool about that? That in the dinosaur, once you get close to actually getting on the ride, they have the red, yellow, and white like pipes.
Yeah.
And isn't it like the
ketchup, mustard,
chemical makeup of ketchup and mustard and stuff?
mayo,
So it's just that's a cute little fun factoid.
But all that's about to change here soon anyway. So
and what will that be becoming?
I think it's supposed to be Indiana Jones.
That's what I heard, which makes sense. It's the exact same ride.
Did they officially announce that?
I don't know.
Or is that just
I feel like everything was official and then didn't happen.
Well,
so what's that even mean, you know?
That's a whole different topic for a different day.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're watching this instead of just listening to it, you can see we've just changed our furniture yet again. But yeah, I gotta say, I'm digging this new thing.
Having a separate chair so I can face you a little bit better has been nice.
Because before we were on a couch and every time I looked at you, it was like this. Mm-hmm. Now I feel like this is very much more conversational. I like this.
Yeah, this is nice. Okay, so we asked you guys over on our Instagram, which is Disneyville Podcast, if you want to join our little fam, become a citizen of Disneyville, Disneyvillian. Anyway, so we asked you guys 2 questions. One, we asked, what are your favorite queues and what are your least favorite? So let's chat about your guys' favorite ones. So Holly W. Morrow 1 said, Flight of Passage, that midpoint bathroom is hands raised to the heavens.
I forgot about that.
That is genius. Because if you are in that line for an hour and a half, whether for yourself or for your kid, like that is, boy, if only those other long lines had that. That is an incredible, incredible thing they thought through. So Kaylee Lori Lynn said, the one my kids have the most fun in is Winnie the Pooh. That is another one they added interactivity to it. And it's like, of course, I always think like, the germs.
So sticky.
But they have like this really fun part where you can put your hands on it. And I think now you don't actually have to touch it. Remember last time we went through, they've made it so that you just have to be near it, which is pretty smart. Are kids still touching it? Of course. But anyway, where you can make the honey like slime around. There's games. That one is pretty fun.
Yeah.
If you're going to be stuck. Now, how would you compare Winnie the Pooh versus Peter Pan's Flight? Like, which one's better?
I still Peter Pan, yeah.
But Winnie the Pooh is pretty good.
Because I think Peter Pan is entertaining for everyone versus Winnie the Pooh is really just entertaining if you've got little kids. Okay. Andrew McClintock said, Tower of Terror got the walls at the perfect height and the water misters outside, plus no cast is better. Like, that's very true. The cast members there are pretty awesome.
That'd be a fun one to work on, I feel like. I love this mentality. Merclaire Redhair said, my rationale is, which queues are really well done with what am I really willing to wait for? Like, what's the ride I'm waiting for at the end? And is that worth it, right?
That's true, yeah.
Even if, your least favorite ride had an amazing queue, well, does that make up for the fact that you don't really care about the ride?
This is true. Elise Holubeck said, it's probably nostalgia taking over. Hello, no AC, but 100% Big Thunder Mountain. I just love it. I almost had that on my list too, but I thought about it. I'm like, I don't think it actually is a good queue, but nostalgia, I just like it. That's why I took it off. But I
feel like that even has a smell in a good way.
Yeah. It's there is something about it. Although the last time we did it, somehow we got off track and I think it was when I was right there with Jason. We ended up going like all the way around and like all these people behind us ended up being in front of us. I'm like, what just happened?
What happened?
Maggie Hoy said, can't not mention the Pirates line. The smell, the temp drop, and the music. That's so true. The temperature drop and the smell. I mean, you can't beat that Disney dank smell.
You really can't. I mean, there's a reason people have made candles that smell like that. Tay Fairborn said, Enchanted Tales with Belle inside the cottage is super cute. Okay, we spent some good time in there last year. That cottage is adorable. It really is so, so cute. We had so much fun. I feel like you do wait a long time, though, for Enchanted Tales with Belle. Even when the wait isn't long, it still feels long. But the cottage is adorable. And then, of course, you get, some of the time in the queue, they're picking people to play different parts for the little show. And so it's just one of those unique experiences, I will say. I can't think of an experience quite like that anywhere else.
Yeah.
That is such a unique thing, the Enchanted Tales with Belle.
And the mirror that's a cool
Oh
effect.
my gosh, yeah.
That's a very cool
I
effect.
totally forgot. That's the coolest. Jason Torres Photography said, Star Wars Smuggler's Run. You wait in the Falcon for your turn. Enough said. Exactly as Tyler said. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard to beat. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, again, I don't want to be a negative Nancy here, but we're gonna go over the dark side here. What are people's least favorite?
Ooh, a lot of people that agree. So Arlena12, hey Arlena, and Kaylee Gimme both agree Jungle Cruise. And Arlena said Jungle Cruise. I don't know why. And then Kaylee said Jungle Cruise, thumbs down, so cramped and sweaty. That's not a fun line. That's on par for me with the Safari, although I like the music that you're listening to, like the radio, whatever it is they're playing. Yeah, the radio. In the Jungle Cruise line. I do like that. But yeah, otherwise, woof.
Yeah. Kaylee Lori Lynn said, Mad Tea Party. The queue is so narrow and there's inevitably someone leaning. Yeah, that's true. And I feel like the carousel is kind of the same way.
Yeah, can I add that to my worst? Yeah. We ride the carousel every time we're in Magic Kingdom because, I mean, the girls love it. I think we went like 10 years without ever having ridden the carousel. And the second we had a kid, we are on that darn carousel all the time. That line sucks.
Yeah. Yes.
And just when you think you're about ready to get on, you're not.
Nope.
You're not.
Also, I just saw the second. That was part one. Part two, she said, there is inevitably someone leaning against the chains. And then she said, it's probably my son. Oh, that's funny.
I love that. I love that that's what bothers her. It's
oh, that's funny.
Okay, this is an interesting take. Sarah Richard said, Mickey and Minnie's Railway. This one's tricky for me, and I almost put it on my like medium-ish list because it's in the old Great Movie Ride, of course, building. Mm-hmm. And so it's cool to see how they use that theater and turned it into like, all the like now showing things are Mickey shorts. I love that. And sometimes they'll have some cool like costumes and things from movies.
Right.
So I like that part of it, and I'm assuming they switch it out and change it. But beyond that, that's one that's not super fun to wait in if you're waiting a long time.
Yeah. I used to like it. I used to like watching the old movies they had on the movie screen.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty cool. But yeah, now it's again, at least it's air conditioned. So,
it is.
Points
that's
for
true.
that. But
parts of it are not, but most of it, once you're inside, are. All right. If you're watching the video version of this, our light just overheated. So the lighting's going to be changed.
Which we're about done anyway. So we're just going to cut it. So we always like to talk about the reviews that we get because you guys are so incredibly nice in your reviews. So I wanted to read our most recent one here is from Daniela Barbarina. And it says, favorite podcast. Absolutely love this podcast. I watch both Jessica and Tyler on YouTube, down to Jessica's vlogs and makeup videos to Tyler's vlogs, Townhouse Tales, if you know, you know. I relate to and love this family so much. I am a Florida resident and proud Disney adult. This podcast brings me so much knowledge I didn't even know about, along with so many laughs. I recommend them to all my friends and family to enjoy the magic and happiness this podcast brings. Since the pause and uploads, we're back. Since the pause and uploads, I have re-listened to all the episodes almost as many times as I rewatch The Office. That is high praise. Can't wait for more to come.
We do have a lot in common then. Yes, The Office. Thank you so much. That was so kind.
Yeah.
Those kinds of reviews really do make our day and
make me blush.
It's just so nice. So if you are not yet, as we mentioned earlier, following us on Instagram, again, it's Disneyville Podcast. Join the fam. That is where if you're wanting to share your input or answer questions that we poll you guys like we did today, that is the place to do it. Mm-hmm. If you've not checked us out on YouTube, I know some of you guys are watching on YouTube, but we always have B-roll of what we're talking about on there. Or if you just want to watch, maybe you're curious, we're talking about certain things, you want to see it. Yeah. Definitely find us over there. Of course, just search Disneyville. You'll find us.
Yep. I think that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. We're going to go watch the eclipse.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Bye.